Hi there, it's Dr. Jim. I'm sitting here in my office in Beverly Hills getting ready to do a domestic violence Zoom meeting tonight for the groups. Normally, the room would have 8 to 10 live people. We don't usually have a bunch of dead people, but live people. And it's the way it is. I say one of my kind of uh, pandemic t-shirts is on right now. Is I used to have a handle on life, but it broke. And I don't know if you've realized it, but that's the way I'm feeling a lot. Is that I used to have control of things a bit. I used to seem to know what I was doing. Now I'm not 100% sure. Somebody kidded recently that when you say what day is it, it's like, well, it's today, and that was yesterday, and that's tomorrow, and that was a couple of days ago. We don't always know the exact name of the day. I'm sitting here right now. Normally, I'm here on Tuesday or Thursday doing groups and Saturday, and but the building is empty. There's only a couple of attorneys down the hall and a few other folks in the building, so it's extremely quiet. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, what does this mean? Is it like Friday that I'm just here to pick up paperwork? I don't know. So it's a little confusing and disorienting. And we have to realize that as we go forward, that this is part of what's happening with us, is that we're a little bit out of touch. Somebody said something today that hit me really hard. She's got a teenage daughter who's graduating from high school. And her comment was that, well, the kids are out having a good time. They kind of opened the city up a little bit so they can go out to the park, they can run around, they can do whatever. She's graduating. Well, guess what? She hasn't graduated before. She hasn't experienced this before. This is sort of the norm for her graduating, is they're going to do a drive-by graduation. They're going to all get in their cars and go by the graduation and get their diplomas handed out as they drive through. Okay, that'll be kind of interesting. It's different. It's different than lining up and doing everything else. Um, but she doesn't know any better. Nothing against her. I don't mean it that way, but this is what they're living with. People who haven't gone through things uh, before don't always know what it was like to have. Um, there's a statement that old people use, like myself, that we often say, appreciate what you have before you appreciate what you had. So a lot of the people today, that are growing up right now, they're seeing how this is. This is not something they're excited about, but for them, they can refer back to it later, the pandemic and the time and whatever, and a time of growth and change, I guess, for some, and for others, a horrible experience. But they will have experienced something that nobody else experienced. They'll be able to look back at it and say, wow, I don't want to ever do that. And if they sit there and try to tell their kids 20 years from now what it was like to go through the pandemic, very likely the kids will be looking at them like, what are you talking about? Um, so we're experiencing things that are not really normal for us, but they're normal now. We have a new norm. We're not going to be going back to the old norm. There's going to be so many people out of work. Um, my friend flies for Air France, and he comes here to LA and has for years. And the Airbus 380 they fly is a two-story airplane, holds about 500 people. I've flown to Paris with them a number of times on it. Um, it was interesting because they were announcing that over the next 5 years or so, they were going to be eliminating them, partly because they don't need the super big plane anymore. This was before the pandemic. They decided they needed to downsize a bit. The weird part was I was reading today about it, some of those planes are only 6 years old. The youngest ones are 6 years old. I fly on 757s to New York on United that are 25 years old. So we're getting rid of 6-year-old planes. Um, Air France announced that they have them in storage now, and they've got 10 of them, and they're not going to bring them back out of storage. They're done with them. Who knows what will happen with those planes later? But it's an era that's over. It's an era that's over. So they're going to be changing that. Airlines will be doing a lot of changes in the next few years, as will schools and as will universities. Um, period. Life's going to be different. That's for damn sure.